And people are like, oh, I don't really see much humanities here. Like, oh, this isn't a very good grade in his writing class. I was like, look, this kid's going to win the Nobel Prize. Okay, I exaggerate, but this kid has a passion. Let's reward that. And I argued hard enough that he did get Phi Beta Kappa. But I think that there is this kind of averaging. People don't care about the average ability that you have across all things. Most of us in life are going to become, if we're lucky, good at something. And it's that one thing that actually matters and not the other things that you didn't invest in.
Do you have a favorite grit story? Someone who your book is full of great stories of people who demonstrated so many facets of passion and perseverance and interest and commitment over time. Is there a favorite one? Is there a...
It's a great job that I have, so like Anders Ericsson, I kind of go around studying experts, and you see it everywhere, by the way. It's not just that you have to go to the Olympics or to a chess tournament. You go into a great restaurant, and this is a very trivial example, but I think it resonates for me. You go into a restaurant, you ever have like a great waiter or waitress? I mean, they're considerate, and I was like, that is a pro. That is somebody who loves what they do and who seems to be trying to get better at it. And that is grit just as much as a famous story. I do have a story that I've recently been rereading, and that is Julia Child and her autobiography. And you may or may not know that Julia Child took until her late 30s to really figure out that she wanted to do anything at all related to food. She grew up in a wealthy family that had a cook. She said she had, and I quote, zero interest in the kitchen. When she was a young woman going to college, she thought she might want to be a writer, a novelist. Then World War II happened, so she sort of, went to... I mean, this is not a story of grit so far. She marries Paul Child, and for his job, not for hers, they go to France. And she has a really memorable meal. It was sole meunière in a little restaurant outside of Paris. And that was the beginning of a journey, right? Not, by the way, an epiphany that she knew that she was going to revolutionize the way Americans cook and introduce them to French cuisine, but, one step in a journey where, in the next meal, she noticed that was also different than anything she'd ever eaten. Then there was a bistro they went to. She started wandering around Paris and looking at this beautiful produce and this bread that she had never tasted. She got more interested. Somebody gave her a cookbook. Her husband, I think, gave her second French cookbook. She found out that there were classes that she could walk to and learn French cooking. What I want to say about these stories of grit is that, one, that is accessible. When you actually dig down of how people became great, suddenly it becomes something that you might actually aspire to. And it's never really a snapshot. It's always a movie, and it's a long movie, and you might not want to see all of the scenes that could be edited out to make more drama. But in a very real sense, I think excellence is a long story that has parts that are not suspenseful, that parts are mundane.
Yeah, it's like practice. It happens every day, right? You do it all the time. It gets better. I guess how measurable is grit? I mean, you actually did a bunch of pioneering work to measure it at West Point Cadets, right? But when we think about talent and IQ and so on, there's a rich, if somewhat colored history in the measurement of intelligence, right? Is grit equally measurable in your opinion, or?
I think scientists have a much better grip on how to measure intelligence than they do to how to measure grit or so many other things that you could say are under this broad umbrella called character. And, we've had these IQ tests really for over a century, continually being refined. And in 45 minutes, I can give you your IQ score. Well, in 2 minutes, I can give you your grit scale score, right? So what's the difference? The difference is that my questionnaire is completely fakeable. My questionnaire, really, like, I am a hard worker. Like, it's not hard to think about what the answer is to that if you want a higher score. In an IQ test, you can't really fake it. You can't say like, oh, I'm going to guess C because I know it's the right answer, but I don't really know, but I'm fake. That doesn't work, right? Second thing is, when you're taking an IQ test, there's no subjectivity, there's no judgment, right? You take the test, you get a score. With the grit scale, if I gave it to you and you said to yourself, am I a hard worker? I can only imagine the people that you'd be comparing yourself to, right? When I talk about finishing whatever I begin on the scale, you're going to compare yourself to your peers who are all probably extremely gritty. So in addition to faking, there's what in science is called the frame of reference bias. Yeah. And that is your standard of comparison can vary. And here's one concrete example. In